Play.
Hey guys, so welcome to the stream. I don't think we've done this before, but I'm actually just gonna talk about the Wimbledon qualifying day one, which has literally just like wrapped up in 15 minutes ago maybe. And today was only the first round of the men's singles qualifying. Tomorrow is going to be day one of the ladies singles qualifying. Basically, if this is just going to work like usual. I mean, if you have any suggestions, questions, comments, whatever, fire away in the chat. I'm going to try to reply to everything. In case you don't, I'm just going to sort of work through the draw. You're going to have it on the screen. We're going to talk about, some sections we're just going to just like fly past, I think, but some I'm just going to talk about sort of, some matches in specific, in detail as well. There's definitely a couple of stories like Fonseca today. But I think I'm just going to go straight sort of from section 1 to section 16. And we're going to see how that works. I have no idea how long this will take. I would assume like 40 minutes or something like that. But obviously that will also depend on you maybe. If you want to talk about anything else than Wimbledon qualifying, also fire away. I mean, I'm definitely open to talk about brands of frozen pizza or whatever. But for now, Giovanni Pecci-Pericard, of course, is one of the people one of the players that everyone expects to make it through the qualifying. And I think what we can say after today is that he made a good enough start. He's going to face Antoine Escoffier in another all-French matchup. And there's actually a possibility for him to play 3 Frenchmen, if you can see that, Blanchet, Escoffier, and Janvier. It's not that likely, but I mean, he can. And the big story, I guess, about Escoffier is that he got his first qualifying win on the 10th attempt, which is pretty wild. I mean, he got a very easy draw to do it. Olivieri on grass certainly is an opponent that like most of the players in the draw would beat. Olivieri, I think, is 0-4 now on grass or 0-3. But still, it's obviously a fantastic achievement that he deserves to be congratulated for. I don't know if he still has the game to really touch Pecci-Pericard, who's of course so strong right now. Won Lyon. He's so deep into the top 100 as well. Everyone just expects Gio to make it. He actually was down a break in the second set today, but he managed to handle it pretty well. I think the main issue for him on grass is that, well, he's just going to play so many lottery matches, right? With his serve, with his baseline game being a little bit, let's say, sketchy when there's no time on it, when there's no time on the backhand especially. So let's see how he keeps moving through it, but so far so good. And also a lot of people here are looking obviously at Emilio Nava, the 30th seed. Ghosty right now, he says he's lanky and quick, which, yeah, sure. I mean, he is lanky and quick. He also is really good at Grand Slam qualifying. I don't think he's played Wimbledon before, but he's qualified for the other slams and he's done it many, many times. Yes, I'm going to talk about Fonseca later, Ghosty, of course. And I actually think that Pecci-Pericard against Nava would be a pretty tight match. And we'll see if Emilio gets there. I think he has, well, let's say a comparably difficult opponent in the second round to Pecci-Pericard. But this section, I guess nothing really happened today in terms of the upsets, as both Nava and Giovanni Pecci-Pericard managed to make it through. In the second one, though, maybe some of you will be, well, I don't know if some of you will be surprised, but I saw a lot of people on Twitter, including Ben Rothenberg, were very high on Shintaro Mochizuki, who won the 2019 junior title. Are there grass courts in Brazil? I kind of think of South America as a clay continent. There's absolutely no grass courts in Brazil, but Fonseca played Wimbledon juniors last year, lost in the quarters to Henry Searle, and also won on these very courts in Roehampton. He won a big junior event last year, JU300, which is like the primary warm-up tournament ahead of Wimbledon juniors. So he has grass experience. But when he was training for the grass season in Brazil, he was actually practicing on hard courts, and then he got to Europe and started training on grass. But so no, there pretty much no grass courts in Brazil. I don't know, maybe there is a venue somewhere. There are 2 grass court venues in Poland, but I still wouldn't call us a grass court per country, for example. But first and foremost, primarily, obviously, yes, clay courts is the biggest thing in South America. Some hard courts, but grass is going to be hard to come by, as pretty much anywhere in the world, really. But yeah, Shintaro Mochizuki was a popular selection here as a guy who could qualify, the Wimbledon junior champion. He loses to Hugo Gaston. I think, it's a match of 2 players who kind of have similar strengths, right? With their feel for the ball, with their touch. To me, it's like not a big deal, really. Dino Prismic, I know some people will be delighted that he made it through. Of course, his season has kind of fallen apart, mostly due to injuries. Now he's going to play Gaston, which I think is pretty open. Personally, I'm more invested in that bottom half there, which is, I think, very strong. Kukushkin, if you look at his grass records, actually not that great. But that's mostly because at Wimbledon he was drawing like Murray twice, Nishikori twice, I think, Federer. So I think there is a bit of an, let's say, if you just look purely at the numbers, you're going to underestimate him. But obviously he hits the ball super flat. I think he's very tough to handle in these conditions. If he keeps it up, he might be the biggest threat to qualify here, but actually Benjamin Bonzi was someone who deserves a lot of credit for his performance today as well. And as you probably remember, last year Bonzi made a couple of ATP Tour finals. This season was horrible for him from the start, really. But hello, Nurlan. But last week in Ilkley, he has really managed to like get back on track. He qualified, he made the semis, and it looks like he's going to maintain this form. I think Peniston was kind of tough as a first round opponent. And basically now we're going to get Bonzi Kukushkin, which I think is one of the best matches of the second round. Gaston Prismic, I know it will have its fans as well, but personally I'm super hyped for Bonzi Kukushkin. As I said earlier, this will be on Wednesday, as tomorrow is the first round of the women's singles qualifying. Ghosty, why are there so many French dudes in qualies? That's only ranking based. I mean, there are currently about 25 players in the top 200 coming from France. So basically, anytime we have an event that's going to be related to like top 150, top 200 players, there's going to be a lot of Frenchmen. And here, of course, it's also down to like 220, 230, even I think a 240 something player got in today as an alternate. So there's a lot of French players in there, basically. And yes, there are, I think, 32 in total between the men's and the women's draw. So yes, there's going to be plenty of Frenchmen. And yeah, Bonzi Kukushkin, as I said, to me, that's going to be one of the matches of round 2. That's one that I'm definitely going to be watching. Third one, I mean, we are all rooting for Zizou Bergs here, right? I don't know if rooting, but basically it's a section that feels kind of designed for the Belgian. Like in a way, it's so easy. He's headed the last few slams as well. He made it at Roland Garros, also having a pretty easy section. I think the biggest problem for him here is going to be Pierre Gerber in the second round. That's quite exciting. The Frenchman today was, just did his job, right? I mean, he's obviously very good at the net, being such an amazing double specialist. He can approach it. He can serve and volley. He can definitely use the grass in a way that most players can't. And that's going to be the test for Zizou. But the pressure is on him here. I mean, he's also very deep into the top 100, right? Hello, Luke. He's also very deep into the top 100. And basically, the expectations are high. It's happened in the last few slams. Zizou seems to be getting like these pretty easy draws time and time again at slams. Sometimes he takes them like in Paris. Sometimes he doesn't, like in Melbourne. Of course, in Melbourne it was more like heat exhaustion, and he still got to the main draw as a lucky loser. But I think here there's not that much to talk about. I missed the FCAF Martino match. I know some people were very high on Matteo Martino after Stuttgart, where he qualified and then lost to Denis Shapovalov in the first round. Pretty good match as well. But I don't know. I just didn't really feel the hype, I suppose. This section is likely going to be decided by Bergs Herbert, if you ask me. And that's definitely another one of these round 2 matches that I think are going to be very much worth watching on Wednesday. And Ghosty also says that he's going to root for Zizou Bergs here, which I think there's a lot of hype about Zizou on social media, and a lot of people seem to be rooting for him. And I know, Ghosty, you also like James Duckworth. You were kind of constantly asking me whether he's going to make it into the main draw, which he kind of deserves, right? I mean, he, in a way, he made the quarterfinals in Stuttgart from qualifying. He made the Halle second round from qualifying, only lost to Berrettini and Hurkacz. So far, he's kind of proving that form, but losing a set to Benjamin Hassan, is it a worrying sign? I wouldn't really think so. I think in the first set, it was just like 80% first serve points won for both players. They were not generating any break points. He lost a pretty random tiebreak, was able to get out of it. But, Moreno de Alboran in the second round, I wouldn't count him out. If you guys remember Moreno de Alboran a couple of years ago, he was one of the most surprising performers at Wimbledon qualifying. It turned out that he has that big serve that he now uses as one of his best assets for sure. and also was very inventive at the net. Like there was a lot of half volley action, and that was definitely not something that we knew about his game prior to this. Omar Jasika, Ghosty is a fascinating story. I'm not going to go that deep into it, but there's definitely what I can tell you is that he was a very promising player back in the day. Then he got a ban for cocaine. And basically, since he came back, he's like been very good at ITFs, just struggling to make the push to challengers, which I think is mostly his game. It's just decent lefty topspin stuff, not much power on it, and that's kind of it. Like he has good feel for the ball for sure, but I guess he just lacks the weapons to really make it in the sport. So yeah, cocaine. And basically, that's kind of it with him. Although he qualified at the Australian Open, right? He was one of the most surprising qualifiers in Australia, beating Abdullah Shelbay in the third round. And then he lost to Hubert Hurkacz. Have I seen beats of Duckworth Hassan? Bits, but really like bits. So I can't really speak that much on it. You know, I mostly saw the first set tiebreak and then just some tiny moments after that. But you were expecting closer sets 2 and 3, which is pretty interesting because I was rather like, well, when Duckworth lost the first set, are we really going to get this upset? Because I know Hassan is dangerous, and especially if it's just a botting contest, sure. But Duckworth just, I don't know, I just hold him so high right now, both form-wise and also on grass, that, yeah, I was just really expecting a Duckworth win there. One way or another, I suppose. But yeah, Moreno de Alboran won't be easy for him, I think. Pretty fun story with Enrique Rocha and Jaime Faria there. They are good friends. They sort of made their way up to the Challenger Tour at the same time. Kind of different ways. Rocha was more like, okay, I'm winning a Challenger, whereas Faria won 4 ITFs in a row. But now they both have a Challenger title, and Rocha is now 5-0 in the pro head-to-head with Faria, but the Portuguese guys on Twitter also reminded me that Rocha beat him last year at the national championships too. So it's 6-0 now between Rocha and Faria, which is kind of wild because I don't think their potential is like that far apart. In fact, I'm more in the Faria camp, but that's okay. Hassan was surely the biggest danger for Duckworth, you think? Okay, these cards should suit Layal as well, but what a horror year he's having. Hopefully he can make round 3. Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you as Layal. I think matches like Passaro and Rocha, like they should be like clean wins for him, but clearly nothing is going right for Layal this year. And with Layal's story, Ghosty, he's a player from the Muratoglu Academy. Great prospect, I think. Last year, he was in the Antwerp second round, if you remember that match against Arthur Fils. I think he beat Munar in the first round. It seemed like he was just going to break through this year, but I think we're going to have to delay it until 2025 maybe, because yeah, it's just not been going too good. And I think even against Passaro, like on grass, he shouldn't be losing sets to me, but okay, like that's fine. I don't know what our plans are going to be about ladies qualies. I honestly have no idea if I'm going to watch much ladies qualies tomorrow, but I guess we'll figure it out on the fly. Today's show basically originated because John asked me if I want to do a stream of whatever, like, you know, Wimbledon qualifying commentary or Mallorca or Eastbourne. And I just thought, well, I mean, there's so many matches going on. I'd rather just watch them. So I basically decided to tell him that instead I can do something like this. What drew you to the challengers? I assume you started out following the top guys more. Yeah, absolutely. I think my first challenger live was basically what drew me to it. In pretty much, you know, that was the biggest thing in 2018 when in Poland you couldn't really go to any WTA tour or ATP tour event. And there was this challenger in Gdynia that I went to. I'm actually living in Gdynia right now, about 15 minutes from these courts, funnily enough. But I didn't know it at the time. And then after about a year, I went to another challenger and I got like really hooked. And I just figured, well, I'm going to start following this on a daily basis because apparently no one else is. And the quality is so good. It's so fun, sort of the low-key atmosphere at the events. And yeah, that's kind of how it started. And since then it's been just growing every single season, every single day, more or less. But yeah, it was basically a live experience first and foremost. Before that, it was just like, yeah, from time to time I would catch a challenger match, but just occasionally. Thank you, Ghosty. And let's move on to the fifth one then. As I said, this like Duckworth, Moreno de Alboran, that's kind of tricky for me, but still Duckworth the biggest thing here. And here in section 5, I was actually expecting Haris Vavasori to be a little tougher. I don't know if you guys were as well. We still don't have on Wikipedia here Travalia against Lovehagen, but actually Lovehagen already won 7-5 in the third. George Lovehagen, you might remember from the previous grass season, he was so good there that he got the Wimbledon main draw wildcard. Now only the qualies because he's been injured most of the year and only just came back, but he gets the win over Travalia. I don't really think he has a good shot at Lloyd Harris, but Lloyd Harris has been so good the last 2-3 months, winning the 2 challengers in Asia, then Surbiton. So, I mean, it just looks clear to me that Lloyd Harris is a big deal here. Vavasori 6-2, 6-2 is also a nice result, even though Vavasori was in Halle on Sunday, of course, playing the doubles final. This year, when Bolelli and Vavasori are top of the ATP doubles race, I think the singles is like even further behind on the list of Vavasori's priorities, but that's fine. Obviously, he's so successful now, 2 Grand Slam finals this year already in doubles. I just was expecting maybe a little bit more, but given that he was in Halle on Sunday, I can't really blame him for that performance. Lloyd Harris is still looking really strong here. And Ugo Grenier against Zachary Svajda at the bottom. Expected results, I think Svajda is the biggest threat to Harris in the whole section. Was obviously doing pretty well on hard courts as well. On grass courts as well in the lead up. Different style to Lloyd Harris. I mean, definitely a huge contrast. No serve really, but he is moving very well on the surface. And who knows, maybe he can actually make it tricky for the South African, who looked pretty scary today. And Kirit says that he saw Lloyd Harris beat Nadal in person. I guess that was like Washington, right? A couple of years back. That was the peak of Lloyd Harris that season. Since then, of course, lots of injuries. But he seems to be back. He is back in the top 100. Still, of course, got back into it after the Wimbledon cutoff. But he should be in the US Open if he keeps playing like this, I think. And then we move on to the 6th one. We actually had a withdrawal here today with Calvin Emery, who was the runner-up at the Blois last week. That indoor, that clay court challenger that actually turned indoor hard courts. Calvin decided to withdraw here, which is a bit of a shame. I thought he might actually have a very good preparation for Wimbledon after that indoor hard court event because it was so rapid and slick. I know it's not the same, but I still figured he might actually have some good momentum. But anyway, Jules Marie gets instead of him. I think yesterday on that stream we did with Vansh, we talked about the Jules Marie tweet and not tweet even, but the DM he sent to Andy Murray. Andy Murray did not end up withdrawing from Wimbledon, not yet at least. But Jules Marie was still let in by Calvin Emery and earlier by Valentin Vacheron, so he got what he wanted. Got a chance at Luca Van Asch. To be honest, I didn't watch that much, but I guess I just don't really think of either player as a big threat here. Litu beating Valentin Royer is kind of surprising to me, but of course the Frenchman was debuting on grass, and even though his game maybe in the future could make sense on the surface, I guess with the lack of experience, it's perfectly fine. Here I'm very, however, 2 big stories at the bottom. And I'm very disappointed with Jack Pennington-Jones today and his performance. I mean, you might remember him beating Cam Norrie in Nottingham just a week ago. And, 2 weeks ago, I suppose by now. And, he just comes in here and he is so overwhelmed by the occasion. I was not expecting that because he had already played Wimbledon in the past. Of course, not really that much pro experience recently because... Not that much pro experience recently because he's playing college for the Texas Christian University. But still, I mean, because he had been there before, because he beat Norrie in such a big scenario at Nottingham, I was just thinking, okay, he's going to have a good performance. We don't really know what Pui is going to bring because he hasn't played since Roland Garros qualies and that loss to Medjedovic, which I think I did a stream on at Talking Tennis as well. And basically, it turned out that Pui is, one thing, perfectly fine physically, and he just put enough pressure on Pennington-Jones to see him totally crack. The social media guys on Instagram, Ghosty, it was The Telegraph, and it was a report they sort of had from someone around the Murray team, and it turns out that he is still unclear whether he is going to play or not, rather than he categorically will not play. Evans won Washington in 2023, Ghosty. He'll be defending his points in a couple of months. And Iji Vesely beating Arol Mayo. And this is kind of like the Vesely special, right? Ghosty will be delighted to hear about this because it was Sebastian Korda last year who was the victim of Iji Vesely. There was also that amazing match at Roland Garros with Stefanos Tsitsipas. This year at the Australian Open, he takes a set of fields. And you gotta know, Iji Vesely is barely winning matches all season. I mean, he actually won a challenger this year. But other than that, in I think 15 events, he's only won one match. And today, I guess, is his second over Aaron Maillot, who made the Wimbledon second round from the qualifying last year and also made the Ilkley final last week. I don't know. I mean, at this stage, I guess you really expected that Vesely is just going to bring it for every single slam. And obviously, if he would play Novak Djokovic, he's definitely going to beat him because he's 2-0 against Novak, Dubai and Monte Carlo. I think Monte Carlo 2016 and Dubai 2021 or 2022, either 2021 or 22. But anyway, yeah, it was just another huge serving, really flat hitting, of course, as well on the back end from Vesely. And he just makes it so tough for these guys to play him, even if his fitness is shot, even if his movement is, well, pretty awful at this stage of his career. He just gets that first strike in, and he's going to make it tough for you. Also, a couple of nightmare volleys for Aaron Maillot in the last game. One of them, he just gave it straight back to Vesely, who passed him, and the other was just dumped into the net. The other was on the match point. Maybe the ball was even going out. That's kind of how it looked, but who knows? Anyway, that was a pretty big, well, I would say it was a pretty big surprise given where both guys are with their games right now. But given it's the Vesely Grand Slam magic, some of us were also expecting this, I suppose. I think personally, I was just like went bold in that section. I went Pennington Jones, which obviously backfired. Yes, you can laugh at me. And yes, Vesely beating Sebi Korda, the favorite for Wimbledon last year in the first round, was pretty hilarious, definitely. And number 7, we've got the Medjedovic section, as I like to call it, because, I mean, he's definitely the biggest name here. And you've got Grégoire Barrère, who lost here, which is a little bit of a surprise, I think, against Quentin Halys. But of course, in the battle of the two Frenchmen, I think both of them are clearly, pretty good on grass courts. Halys, third round last year at Wimbledon. He was close. He was competitive against Yannick Sinner. He was actually like pushing him really in that match. So I think against Grégoire Barrère here, despite his lack of form, he had a good shot. But it is a bit of a story. Diego Schwartzman as well, losing in what is his last Wimbledon, because of course Diego announced earlier this season that he's going to be retiring in Buenos Aires 2025. So that was also a pretty poor performance from him, I think, given Jay Clark. You might look at him as a Brit and stuff, but he actually has a rather awful record on grass. Some of that is due to him just getting a lot of wild cards in events he usually wouldn't be getting into, but he just has a really non-grass play style, I would say. And then when it comes to Medjedovic, he just beat Rincon, who kind of on grass he had to defeat. And now the question becomes whether Medjedovic is going to win some botting contests, because I think it's clear that against Zhukayev and also against Halys, this is what we're going to get. Like, Hamad is just going to be involved in some massive serve fest, and he has to be ready for it. Maybe for one sort of if you look at it one way, maybe it's actually good for him because his movement isn't that great, right? Especially on grass. Maybe it's actually good for him to be involved in these like sort of just serve-oriented matches. But on the other hand, maybe that's just going to make it a lottery. And I don't know if he's going to make it, I am not confident in Medjedovic. This is not Roland Garros. Yes, absolutely, Ghosty Medjedovic is getting a ton of aces. I think last year when he qualified for Wimbledon, he pretty much did it by serve alone. Now he should have a little bit more. But yeah, he's just going to be in these matches with Zhukayev and Halys. And I have no clue if he's going to make it. It's not like Roland Garros, when I was so confident in Hamad making it and probably also doing something in the main draw, which of course didn't end up working out. But yeah, right now I am really not sure. And Luke says that there are some. Oh, actually, I'll put it on the screen. Fantastic stats for Halys today. Badly needs to qualify with a round. He actually can miss US Open qualifying. You say, okay, I wasn't following that situation, but that's pretty wild indeed. And yeah, Halys Medjedovic, if we get that, because Baby Zhukayev, actually, the stats for him as well today, 21 aces, I think, and he was just kind of unbreakable for Rodionov as well after maybe the first few games. I don't know. I mean, if we get Medjedovic, Halys, indeed, it's going to be a great serve-botting battle in the third round, but Medjedovic is not guaranteed to get there. That's what I'm going to say. Hebureki, that doesn't sound like Polish. I don't know. Oh, and unless it's not Polish, actually, because unless it's not Polish, then that's fine. Then no, I've never eaten it. And Luke says that Medjedovic was perfect on serve in the first set, which yeah, I think he got broken at like 5-1 in the second set, right? But not a big deal, I guess. The match was won already. But yeah, Rincon was just an opponent he had to defeat. It's just going to be a lot of huge serves here. Zhukayev, Medjedovic, Alice, and we're gonna see what happens. And let's go to number 8, where I actually also lost my pick. My pick was Atman, who defeated Radu Albot, who I was also thinking of in Ilkley last week. But what I have to say is that I was a little disappointed by the Atman performance today, mostly because he didn't even generate a breakpoint against Buyun Chaokete. It's clear that the Chinese has some talent in terms of like getting on a surface for the first time and already looking good. He did it on clay this year, and he did it on grass as well. But still, like for 3 sets, not to even generate a breakpoint, not to even smell a breakpoint, like for Atman, that was pretty disappointing to me. Now I have no idea who's going to qualify here, really, because Galan, Diallo, Albot, Bu, I think these are all really close to one another. You might remember Daniel Lahi Galan for his Wimbledon runs the last couple of years. Third round in 2022, fourth round in 2023. Of course, the 2022 run was a little weak. Like it was just like one win and then a walkover. But 2024 was much stronger. Definitely one of the players who can, one of the clay courters who easily can translate his game to grass courts or hard courts. Obviously, beat Tsitsipas at the U.S. Open one year. What's my read on Diallo? I think he has a lot of raw potential. I'm kind of getting a little anxious because that raw potential doesn't seem to be like getting polished up. It's been a few years now that he's kind of had it, and athletically he's really good. I think in a kind of like a Ben Shelton type of way, where he's a big hitter, but at the same time he has a lot of physical potential, which definitely helps. But I am getting a bit anxious because that raw potential is really not close to like getting, so tuned up. And yeah, I don't really know what to think about that at this stage. I would like him to like get to the top 100 relatively soon and just get his shots, get his chances and see what he makes of it. So far, obviously, he's made some progress at Roland Garros, getting to the main draw. But let's be honest, Kei Nishikori was very winnable in the second round for him there. Sorry, in the first round for him there. So there was some disappointment regarding that as well. Against Aziz Dugas on grass courts today, like he should not be struggling against Aziz Dugas on grass courts either. So I have no clue if he's gonna take on Galan. Galan clearly a pretty competent grass courter, but that section to me is now just like straight up open. Anyone can do it, and maybe it's gonna be Diallo. There's definitely a lot of talent in Diallo that we still haven't seen, but at this stage I'm kind of wondering if he's ever gonna like truly unleash it. But obviously he's also still pretty young, and especially pretty young in his pro career after playing college. I think he played for University of Kentucky. Number 9, there was one big favorite here, I think, but a couple of good stories. David Goffin certainly kept up his Ilkley form. He was just too good for Mark Polmans today, despite, of course, the potential fatigue. And now he's going to get a day off. I think he's looking very strong to qualify in this section. Mark Polmans only hitting 2 winners, I think, for the entire match. Of course, not the most aggressive player, but it kind of shows you how dominant Goffin was in that encounter. You've got Tim van Rijthoven, who unfortunately still cannot get a win after his comeback. I know probably some of you will be, having some nostalgia for the name. Hertogenbosch 2022, obviously such an impressive run. Number 14, Fritz, I think. Number 9, Auger-Aliassime, and number 1, Medvedev beaten along the way. 4th round at Wimbledon 2022. But of course, since it's been a nightmare, he had some back issues, elbow issues, whatever. I mean, everything really. And team has been just bothered by these injuries throughout his career. I mean, it's like the third time he had to skip a year basically. And well, so far, I think today he was looking pretty good for 2 sets. The serve was definitely there. There was some nice neutralizing with the slice, which I was kind of missing when he played Zizou Bergs in Hertogenbosch. I think that might have been due to the wind though there. So I think today the clearer conditions kind of helped him play more of what he showed us in the 2022 grass swing. But unfortunately, by the third set, he was just toast. Like he was just moving gingerly, and he was just unable to keep it up physically. So yeah, I can't really say that much more. Hopefully, he gets more playtime soon in like lower tier events and actually gets matches he will be able to win. And Uchiyama probably not as much of a threat to Goffin, I would assume. And this was probably my favorite match. Dui Ajdukovic, by the way, is the pronunciation. You said that you were not gonna type. Sorry, the Croatian's name, not pronounce. But yeah, Dui Ajdukovic, Mattia Berrucci. That was probably my favorite match of today. Just the fact that Mattia was 5-7-1 for down. Ajdukovic was then in the third set, like saving all the break points in some ridiculous ways. And then they get to that tie break, which is crazy again. Mattia hits the diving volley at 9-all. And still, it doesn't give him the win. He doesn't win the next point. There's a lot of drama involved. I think Bellucci in general is just such a good player to watch on natural surfaces, even though he grew up on hard courts. But he kind of has that Ons Jabeur type of game, if you may. Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a lefty, a much better serve, I think, as well. But yeah, diving volley at 9-all and the deciding set tiebreak. Yes, that's what he hit today, Mattia. And he was pretty much on the. I mean, he Ajdukovic had him on the ropes there, but he managed to eventually prevail. And he is going to be a factor here. I think he is the biggest threat to Goffin. He's probably the favorite over Zapata Miralles, who qualified for Wimbledon in the past. I think even twice, maybe. But of course, it's like it's not exactly the most grass court game you can find on the tour. I don't know if like a young Boris, but yes, I mean, Ajdukovic was passing him, and you would think that Bellucci doesn't get there, but he jumped, he leaped, and he fell on the grass while hitting the volley. Yes. And with Andrieva Yastremska, I don't know. I mean, someone like Yastremska can definitely push you off the court on grass on any quick court. I think it's going to be more important what Mira does at Wimbledon. But yeah, I mean, Yastremska, if she fires up, she's a super deadly opponent, obviously. At the Australian Open, we saw that, and in many other instances. But yeah, Wimbledon is going to be more important, I suppose. Number 10, we had Joao Fonseca, and yes, that's already been mentioned by Ghosty in the chat. Was that disappointing? I don't know. Let's see what Luke says about Tim van Rijthoven first. Hasn't still fully recovered. He still feels the pain. It's so sad. Surely our greatest player game-wise. Hope he will restart from some future after Wimby. Ooh, that's a big one. Surely the Netherlands' greatest player game-wise. Talon? No, but other than Talon, yeah. But I don't know. Talon. I don't think it's Botic van de Zandschulp. I'm pretty down with Botic van de Zandschulp recently, I have to say. But yeah, I mean, team is definitely the number 2, and maybe you can make the case for number 1 as well. Grass at Queens is like carpet, spongy and soft, but the grass at Wimbledon is a little harder. I think the grass at Queens is definitely somewhat comparable, at least to Wimbledon, especially if you think of Halle or Stuttgart. But what she said might be right as well. Okay. Greatest player game-wise? So what does that mean? I mean, game style-wise? As in, like good to watch. Okay, so yeah, that actually makes sense, I think. Obviously, the 2022 grass season was just something special from team, and definitely he was absolutely wonderful there. After that, we couldn't really see him in full flight, but even before, right, when he had that final with Draper, for example, in Forlì, yeah, I was definitely a big fan of his playstyle there. And number 10, Joao Fonseca. Is this disappointing? I don't really expect any consistency from the 17-year-old at this stage. I think obviously he is uber talented, but it's also one of his first grass performances in the pros. I think during the grass court season, we kind of saw some problems that are there with Fonseca's game, particularly on grass. The fact that he lost to Harris, Nakashima, and Duckworth, like in these matchups, it was all kind of similar. Like they were just hitting too big for him. He's got issues with his return game. He's got issues just kind of being steady enough to combat guys like this. He can get overwhelmed by their pace on a surface like this, whereas usually, of course, he's the attacker on clay courts. And I think against Moro Cañas, it was some of that as well. You might just know Moro Cañas as that Spanish grinder, kind of like the epitome of that play style. But actually, he has a pretty good heavy forehand, a nice first serve as well. And I think for a large chunk of that match, he was kind of dominating Fonseca. Obviously, what happened there at the very end, like the entire tiebreak, 5-9, Fonseca comes back, almost takes it, but again makes some kind of questionable choices. It was wild. He could have survived, and I think if he survived, he would have still had a very good shot to qualify. He gets Gigante here, then Jumhur or Hart. Like, these are not opponents that would be pushing him. These are not opponents that would be making it tough for him by playing faster than him or like just playing bigger than him, right? However, of course, they are also, especially in the case of Gigante and Jumhur, variety players who could definitely just try to make him play the extra shot. Maybe Gigante could actually play more faster than Fonseca on this surface. I don't really know. But anyway, that's one of the biggest stories of today. Fonseca was actually also the only debutant in Grand Slam qualifying that we saw through all these 128 players. It's kind of interesting that he was the only one, but yeah, Wimbledon and French Open qualifying are so close to one another that there's usually not enough time for like the rankings to get like properly, shifted. And yeah, Fonseca was the only debutant. But anyway, yeah, of course he's gonna be back, and he's gonna be back with some better results. As I said at the beginning of the show, J300 Roehampton, he won that title. So with these courts, he was definitely quite okay. It's just that Moro Cañas, to me, was the toughest player he could have faced in this section. I think that was the toughest matchup. But yeah, he also just showed us that he still has ways to go. That's for sure. And who's going to take it now? I think it's very open. I would actually like to see Moro Cañas, to be honest. Because he also made it. Well, he made it. No, he lost to Bellucci, right, at the French Open. It was a deciding set tiebreak, and it's just clear he's made a lot of improvements in terms of just staying away from being that one play style type of guy. There's just Spanish grinder, clay courts. That's it. He's done some really good job staying away from that mold, if you may. And I would like to see him qualify, but I think it's super open between these guys. And also, Luke is mentioning the Novak performance, which I think, Denis Novak just looks like he's going through the motions at this stage, honestly. Like, the guy is just, it doesn't seem like the head is in it, the heart is in it anymore. It was a horrible performance today, absolutely. Jumhur beating Skulkite may be a little bit of a surprise, but I was not fully on board with Tristan being like such a big favorite there, to be honest. Just, the experience of Jumhur, the flair, the skill set. But yeah, it was like a pretty, let's say, close match to me. And Ghosty mentioning the names of Ryan Peniston, Matteo Gigante. Tuna Altuna, of course, deserves a mention as well. But yeah, these two are fantastic too. Matteo Gigante isn't actually a giant, but Ryan Peniston is probably not actually a penis. In fact, I know he's not actually a penis. He was really nice to me when I talked to him. So did he in most of the grass challenges. Can't remember the last grass win of Jumhur before today. That's actually true. Yeah, but he came from clay, right? And then he played like 2 matches very quickly after switching surfaces. And I guess I was just thinking, that probably doesn't matter. Like, that probably is not a big deal. Yeah, Nick Hart is a good one too. And I was in Poznan because he was in Poznan just last week on clay. And I was talking to a friend of mine that there should be a player called like Clayt and Grast. And we were making all sorts of jokes related to the Nick Hart surname, which probably weren't funny, but it was good fun. I was sitting in the sun, I was watching tennis and just laughing about the surname of Nick Hart. What else can be sort of added to that situation to make it better? Probably nothing. Anyway, maybe Sebastian Corda in the Wimbledon semis. But anyway, 11th section. This was another Corda special. Anyway, Leandro Ridi, that's a big deal here. Valentin Vachereau did withdraw, and we got Alex Bolt in, which might actually turn out quite important, because Alex Bolt is a very good grass courter. Definitely a style that he can just use to approach the net, play very fast off that left hand. He qualified. Well, he actually even got a wild card for Wimbledon in the past, right? In 2021, when he won Nottingham 2 over Kamil Majchrzak in the final. Nottingham took over for Ilkley that year. But yeah, Alex Bolt, I think, could be a threat to qualify. Molekar is kind of just like a big hitter, but has 0 experience on grass. Gibson has seemingly lost his form, although he won today against a pretty weak opponent, I guess. I think Stuart Parker, this is his 4th Wimbledon qualifying wildcard in a row, and he always lost in the first round. But the question is simply whether Leandro Ridi will be healthy enough to win. I hope he will be. He had some issues in Ilkley. He won a match in the qualifying, then withdrew before playing Kudla. Withdrew before playing Kudla. And basically he won today, but the second set got a little bit sketchy against Juan Pablo Fikovic. I hope that Kudla is going to be fine because sorry, Kudla. I hope that Ridi is going to be fine because clearly he's the best player in this section, and also just in terms of his style, going forward into the court, taking the ball so early. That's something that grass really accentuates. And yeah, I think he would win matches in the main draw against, let's say, 20% of players if he's playing on his, if he's on his best behavior, if he's fit. So I would love to see him in the main draw, absolutely. Gibson never made a Wimby main. Yeah, I mean, obviously Patrick Gibson is kind of new to the slams. 2023 he made French Open because of the wildcard challenge, right? 2023 he made the US Open, I think with a wildcard, I think as well. But 2024 Australia, again he wins a wildcard challenge. So it's kind of like the wildcard challenge specialist. There's no wildcard challenge for Wimbledon, so far he hasn't been there. Anyway, I think that's it about 11. Like it's really dominated by now. I think he's gonna be, if it's not really, it can be either of these guys, but maybe even Bolt, who got in as an alternate. We've got a Chilean matchup here between Garin and Barrios Vera. Both are actually pretty decent on grass courts. I think earlier there was a comment from John who popped in saying that there weren't any grass courts in Chile, but he probably meant Jari, I think, if anything else. But I actually think that Garin and Barrios Vera are both very decent on grass as well. Obviously, Garin had a big Wimbledon run twice, really, 2 in a row. He definitely plays much flatter than most clay courters, and the same with Barrios Vera as well, right? Barrios Vera also made it for the qualifying at Wimbledon a couple of times, I think. So both these guys definitely are pretty dangerous. So it's not like a straight up Lucas Klein dominated section, although he is clearly the main favorite to me. Lucas Klein, excellent record in the qualifying this year. He also made it for the Wimbledon qualies 2 years ago, I think, beating Andreas Seppi. Could have been 3 years ago, sometimes 2021 and 2022, I'm not sure about. But definitely, I think he's going to be a huge threat here as long as he can just keep his head straight. That's kind of the issue with Klein. Skatov is an opponent he kind of can't afford to lose to on grass, but that Garin Barrios Vera third round could be a test for the Slovak. I don't think we learned much really from this section today. Maybe Garin beating Kwako is a bit of a story because the Kwako serve is underrated, and sort of he's been also very good in Wimbledon, well, Grand Slam qualifying as a whole. Luke says that Armin Klein will do the job. Great section, but normally having confidence in Lukans means nothing at the end. Yeah, I mean, this year he's definitely had some moments of actually being reliable, but I hope that he's going to be able to maintain it because that top 100 opportunity is there. That level for the top 100 is clearly there. And if he makes it, I'm just going to be able to tell everyone, see, I told you. So that's the most important reason, really. No, I actually, obviously would like to see that game in the top 100 as well. Definitely an upset maker, even if getting wins consistently can maybe sometimes be tough for him, and also staying confident can be tough for him. But yeah, that third round with Garin Barrios Vera won't be that easy, I think. Also worth mentioning, if someone doesn't know, the third round of the Wimbledon qualifying is best of 5 sets. Does it actually impact some of the matches? Maybe some. Maybe section 16, which I will mention later. But anyway, in number 13, we've got this kind of like looking like a Maxime Cressy run, like looking like something that Maxime Cressy can probably do. Yes, Ghosty Garin won around Garros Boys many years ago. That's true. I think over Alexander Zverev in 2014, maybe something like that. But yeah, in section 13, we kind of have Maxime Cressy, who's obviously the big grass name here. In the past, the Eastbourne run, the Wimbledon win over Ojar Yassim in the first round as well. That was pretty big. Serve and volley, kind of born, designed for grass, right? But we don't really know. Qualies at every single slam are best of 3. There's only that third round at Wimbledon that's best of 5. I don't know why it's different, Ghosty. Maybe they just like to be different. I actually like this though. I think it's a good sort of like warm up for the players to play one best of 5 match ahead of the slam. And also there's that think that well, if the qualies end on Thursday, like it's fine, right? You should probably get more rest until, well, you should get enough rest for Monday or Tuesday anyway. So I think every single slam should implement this, if you ask me. Luke also talking about Marchenko, who was a little disappointing for me for sure. He was actually playing pretty nice all season. I was surprised that he did not play any warm up event on grass. But I mean, yeah, what can you do? Warm up in terms of the best of 5 format, I mean, Ghosty, because sometimes you get players in, just joining the main draw at a slam and they've never played best of 5. That's what I meant basically. Hissler Cressy definitely was an unlucky draw for both. However, I mean, Hissler kind of has himself to blame as well. He had his chances in the Fed. Cressy was struggling physically since middle of set 2. He had a lot of MTOs as well. CMR Raducanu's magical run at the US Open. Yeah, it was best of 3 for the entire event, obviously. But yeah, Cressy Hissler, that was a big one here. Everyone was looking at that round 1 potentially because both of them are kind of servant volleyers, if you may. I mean, Hissler maybe uses it more as an occasional thing, but still way more than other players. Cressy, of course, all the time, kind of doesn't have anything else in his game. Cressy ends up getting through that one. But yeah, there are some fatigue concerns or like physical concerns with Cressy after all the MTOs he talked today. And of course, he's also like his playstyle is just lottery every single match. So I'm not really sure he's going to make it in the end. Tirante also has a big serve. I think that could be close. Joris Delor is certainly sort of open to action here, and he could qualify from that section. Same with Meligeni Alves. I think anytime you see Cressy in something like this, it's gonna remain pretty open, just because with a playstyle like Maxime Cressy, like Maxime Cressy's, it's pretty tough to get like an easy win, right? I mean, rarely you're going to be comfortable, is what I'm trying to say. It's not going to be all the time that you're just going to be winning matches 6-4, 6-3. Like that just doesn't really happen to Cressy. So I think this section just got really open. Hissler would have had a slightly better shot to dominate this section, I think. Ghosty rooting for Tirante for reasons that I don't know or understand, but I would like to see it. I mean, he has a very good serve, which at least gives you something on grass. He is like an altitude clay specialist, so on faster courts he is also pretty okay. 14th section here, I think Denis Kudla here was one of the popular picks to qualify. He doesn't make it. That was kind of like another veteran that you could have gone for, and I think he's obviously been very good on grass over the years. You might remember that match he played with Novak a couple of years ago at Wimbledon. Not Denis Novak, but Novak Djokovic. The flat backhand from Kudla there was just amazing. He actually is a bit of a specialist of grass to me. Maybe not at the challenger level, just because there are so few challengers on grass, but also like at the ATP Tour, he kind of has the same achievements on grass and on hard courts, which is striking because he obviously played a lot more events on hard courts. And also, Luke is talking about Delor not having a slam yet, not having a slam MD appearance yet. Qualifying round 3 US Open loss. Who was that to? I can check that quickly as well, but I don't remember it for now. But since you're talking about heartbreak, I'm assuming that was like a match point saved, some type of deal or something like that. I can't really remember it right now, to be honest. But yeah, Jesper de Jong managed to beat Kudla, which I was surprised by because Kudla seemed to be getting some form. Like he was looking pretty decent in his most recent appearances. And he is just losing to Jesper de Jong, who is coming off that Sassuolo title on clay. He was still on Saturday. He was still playing clay in the evening in Italy, beating Daniel Altmaier in the final. But kudos to Jesper. Definitely got some great confidence there. So Jesper de Jong apparently has already played the final round of qualifying at slams 3 times, but twice was in 2017. And one was recently. One was last US Open, which is that one that Luke is probably talking about. And Jesper de Jong lost to Moreno Oh, yes, Moreno de Alboran. That was a crazy tiebreak at the end, right? I forgot about that completely. But yeah, in that sense, sure. I agree then that Jesper Joris at some point, it would be definitely nice if he made it. And Lesser Immer indeed moved on. In his last 2 matches, I think he won like 4 games. So it's already a big improvement for Elias. And he plays Marco Trungelliti in like a battle of two players who love Grand Slam qualifying, right? Maybe not Wimbledon as much, but Trungelliti made it once at Wimbledon, also pushed Bonzi that year. There was also Elias Zimmer obviously made it in 2015, that year when he made all the Grand Slams through qualifying. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty good one. I think this section looks very open. I kind of think Jesper might do it. Like if he's so high in confidence as Luke is mentioning, if he's just randomly getting from clay to grass and still winning, sure. And I actually think he might pull it off. Although Shoshima Bukuro is dangerous. Shoshima Bukuro did make it through the qualifying last year. He kind of is in the Mochizuki mold of like just having very good feel for the ball and touch on this surface, which if he isn't pressured too much, he can unleash on the players. By Jesper, he would probably be pressured. By Trungelliti, maybe as well. Maybe not as much by Immer. I don't know. It looks very open, certainly, and with the elimination of Kudla, there's no like proper grass court specialist in here, I think. And also, Nurlan Radu is not playing Sloane Stevens in tomorrow in round one. Radu is playing Francesco Maestrelli in the second round. Yes, kind of. That was actually a good joke. I shouldn't have laughed that way. But anyway, 15th section, we've got Otto Virtanen, who it's just Otto Virtanen, you know. It's just Otto Virtanen, guys. You just look at them. It just you just look at the look at a match for him and you think, oh, it's gonna be easy. I mean, it's like Menona on grass, and it's never easy. I mean, it's always a classic. It's always a thriller. And yeah, I feel like I lost a bit of time watching today's match for Otto, but he saved 4 match points. He saved 4 match points, 3 in a row, 4-5, love 40, and he's through. Does that mean that he's going to qualify? No, but it might. I mean, he's playing Recharge, which is going to be like a big hitting contest on grass. You never really know how that will go. Then you have Buruchaga against Napolitano. Napolitano is definitely the favorite there, given Buruchaga's game doesn't seem to fit the grass at all, and he only won because he was in like a South American clash here. Luke maybe watched Napolitano Pirosh, I think, because that's kind of up his alley. I don't know. I didn't, so I can't really say what happened in that one. But yeah, it's still the section where Virtanen kind of has, the best chance it seems, but you never know with him. Virtanen has a love for unnecessary sets a la Hubi Hurkacz does he. I think it's even worse. Like Virtanen, you just never know if he's going to be motivated 120% or 10%. There's no middle ground. Like he's never going to be just, 70% motivation. It's either 120 or 10. And he also goes between these modes very smoothly, not only in a season, but even in a match. And today was pretty crazy too, with sometimes him again being like really unserious, but then really fighting back. And he managed to do it. I still think he has a chance. But last year at Wimbledon, he actually won 2 matches in the qualies easily, and then lost in the third round to Brouwer. Just had 0 shot, like didn't even get to a tiebreak. You just never know with Virtanen. But today he survived anyway. There's also some Bagnis talk from Luke, who says that it was stupid to play. Bagnis, if you guys don't know, got injured at the French Open. He wasn't back until today. And he was again retiring here. Also, with the bad attitude from Talon and Botic, I guess that's more about like them being pretty introverted, right? I think especially Botic is like just very quiet and all. Maybe Jesper is just a sort of a better watch in that sense, and a more enticing player to follow. I think both Talon and Botic definitely have some sort of similarities in terms of their personalities. Botic especially just kind of comes off as cold. Yeah, I'm sorry about the darkness, guys. I was not expecting that. When I was starting, it was still light. Light was still there, but right now I would have to get up, and I don't want to get up. I also am like not no, I don't know if I should say it, but I'm not like properly clothed. I wouldn't go out like this on the street. But so basically, yeah, I don't want to get up and just put on the light. I do have pants on. I promise. I also have the shirt on, which you can probably see. But that's kind of where I'm going to end it. Okay, that's it. And we also have one more section to talk about Napolitano as well. You guys mentioned that it's a great name. Sure, we you know being so used to it, that's fine. I mean, I kind of just like forget about how funny it can be, but yeah, sure. Anyway, look, also talking about Botic Asa, about always complaining. Talon surely has a bit better attitude, but I surely prefer guys like De Jong, Van Rijten, or Sels. Yeah, I can get behind that. Botic definitely on the court can be like this. I think Talon has a really good mindset, actually. Just kind of the way he's been fighting back in all of these matches, winning a lot of encounters this year where he's behind. Obviously, all these Rotterdam wins from a set down as well. I think by now like 6 against top 20 players over the years. But yeah, maybe in the way he displays it, it's a little different. Botic just in general, I think to me just kind of seems I don't know, like kind of cold and yeah, very introverted in a way. So he's probably not the most like likable player in that sense, I suppose. And yes, there's going to be one more section for us to talk about. We are slowly making our way towards the end. And this is the one where Richard Gasquet actually has a good shot. If you guys don't remember that, 2004 US Open, I obviously was not around to see it. I mean, I was like 5 at the time, but I was not around to see it. I wasn't following tennis yet. But in 2004 at the US Open, Richard Gasquet was in the qualifying. And then for 20 years, he was making every single Grand Slam main draw either automatically or held by a wild card, like this year at the, of course, at at the French Open when he beat Borna Coric. And Richard Gasquet in 2004, I today learned, was actually defaulted at the 2004 US Open. He was actually defaulted by throwing a ball angrily, which ended up hitting a line judge. Somewhere I even read that the umpire, the chair umpire, was actually going to let this go, but then he saw that the person in question was bleeding, which is pretty crazy. I had no idea about this story. That last part, however, about that bleeding, I couldn't really confirm it. Like I was looking at it today, and I found some articles that were believable. Finally, I found some French articles about it when he played Michael Russell again in 2013. Michael Russell, the coach of Taylor Fritz, yes, he played Michael Russell again 9 years later at the U.S. Open. So I found some French articles which were talking about the Gasquet incident from 2004, but they didn't mention the bleeding. So that just don't, that's just unconfirmed. That's something I read on like a tennis forum or something like that. But anyway, he was defaulted. He threw a ball, it hit the line umpire, and he was defaulted. I had no idea that it happened to Richard Gasquet at any point of his career. But yeah, that was the last time he played Grand Slam qualifying before today. And now we have Richard Gasquet back. He beats Oliver Crawford, but in the second set, it was getting kind of like Gasquet in 2024. He wasn't moving that well in the end. He was kind of down physically. He actually started serve botting. I think the last 3 points from Richard Gasquet were 2 aces and like 1 great serve down the tee as well. So he got through. I still think the section is really weak, and he should probably get. I mean, he should probably make it. I don't know about best of 5. Like maybe this is the part where maybe this is the section where it might actually be, it might actually influence the results. However, when it comes to Gasquet, he beat Coric in 3 hours at Roland Garros, right? So maybe I don't know. I guess I'm just thinking the section is weak enough. He should make it either way. And it's especially weak enough now that Henry Squire was eliminated by Vitkov Shiva, which was a surprise on grass courts. I think definitely Henry should have. Yeah, again, the darkness. But I already explained it, John. I'm not properly clothed, so I'm not going to go to put the light on. And no, I do have pants on. That's also a very important asterisk. And anyway, Vitkov Shiva beat Henry Squire, very unexpected on grass, I think, especially considering Henry's recent improvements. Sekulic kind of embarrassing himself against Delian. I'm sorry, but it's another Grand Slam qualifying this year where he gets a great opening round draw and he can't capitalize on it. He's kind of like far away from fully utilizing his talent. And yeah, I mean, this is a Gasquet section to me. If he fails to make it, I think it's going to be totally his fault or the fault of his fading physicality over the years. And anyway, Luke also says, shout out to the eternal underachiever Jonvier. Do you think he can trouble Petri Pericard when both make qualifying round 3? Let's quickly go back to that section. I think Jonvier is playing Nava, right? Who, well, my Wikipedia is loading very slowly now that I'm sharing the screen, which I didn't know because earlier I was going one section by section. But yeah, he's playing Nava. I think anyone can trouble Petri Pericard on grass courts just because it's so close in every single match of his, right? And just the fact that his baseline game, like all the improvements in his athleticism, the backhand, like they won't show on grass when he has no time on the ball. However, I would still back him in that match, like more than I would against Nava. I think that's fair. Uh, just the level of steadiness that the Petri Pericard serve would kind of expect from Jonvier. Yeah, I just don't know if Maxime has it. But of course, yes, he is the eternal underachiever. I agree about that for sure. And very fun question about from Jane about Gasquet. But when it comes to the Gasquet retirement, he said at the beginning of the season that if he's not in the top 100 by year end, he's probably gonna make it. So he's probably gonna retire. So at this stage, I don't think it's looking like he will make it. So that's what I'm gonna say. I think at this stage it looks more likely that this is his last season, and he's probably gonna retire in Bercy in such case. Yes, and that was actually it. I didn't expect that I was going to be sitting here for 1 hour, but that's what happened. And yeah, keep watching Wimbledon qualifying tomorrow. As I said, women's singles round 1. We already have the draw, so you can also go check that out anywhere really on the Wimbledon website or anywhere. Vanch is at Wimbledon to watch the. I mean, he has been there. He's been there since 2018, right? Since the men's singles second semi or something like that. Yeah, it's an inside joke. Never mind. Anyway, that's probably gonna be it for today. We talked about all the sections. Will you do another stream Wednesday, Damian? Maybe. I don't know if that's in the works. I mean, today, as I said, was pretty spontaneous, but we could try that if the interest is there. And I definitely will have time on Wednesday because my plans for Wednesday are watch Wimbledon qualifying. So I'll probably have some time for the stream afterwards as well. It's going to be a bit easier to follow as well, right? Just 32 matches on the men's side, 32 on the women's. Of course, my main priority is the men's. So I think we could try that. Yeah, sure. And I see that a lot of you guys showed up in the stream today, in the comments. So yes, in fact, it's going to be something that I'll think about for sure. And yeah, Gasquet is a true bowler, says Ghosty. Let's end on that. Giovanni Petri Pericard at the top of the draw, Richard Gasquet at the bottom of the draw. I think at the French, only one Frenchman qualified, and that was Grégoire Barrère. And right now, we might actually have more Frenchmen qualifying, despite this being Wimbledon. Who knows? Anyway, yes, thank you for attention. Thank you for coming to the stream today. Yeah, I had no idea it was going to last an hour, but it's Wimbledon qualifying, it's Grand Slam qualifying. It's one of the best weeks of the season, so we have a lot of excitement, plenty of matches. Tomorrow, women's singles round 1, but we'll be back with the men's, of course, on Wednesday. The tournament ends on Thursday if there's no rain, like there usually is in Great Britain, in London. Hopefully nothing. Today it was very clear. And let's see who else disappoints us and who else is going to be like one of the most unexpected qualifiers, especially on Thursday when there's the best of 5 format coming in. Once again, thank you. And how many tennis streamers does it take to change a light bulb? Clearly, I am not able to do it right now. Although, no, my light bulbs are actually fine. But anyway, thank you guys. And for some reason, we also have Luka Modric comment in the chat. It's not Luka Vanash. It's not Luka Mikrut. It's not Luka, whoever else, Luka tennis player. Anyway, what am I even talking about? Thank you guys. And Luka Nardi. Yeah, that was very easy. And I obviously came up with Luka Mikrut before Luka Nardi. Anyway, thank you guys once again. And I'll see you guys in some other Talking Tennis content. Maybe that Wednesday stream. We'll see. Bye.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Ready? Play.
My name is Clara Towson and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans and I'm a friend of the show.
My name is Zainab Sammaz and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one take.